We retired early at the age of 43 with an average salary combined of $88,000. We have 4 kids under 10. We didn't have any inheritance and we had no lottery wins.
Today we're going to break this down year by year from 2006 to now. We're going to talk about income, our budgets, exact numbers, and the income streams that made this all possible. Welcome back to Our Money Quest. I'm Jerad.
And I'm Amber. Today is the video a lot of you have been asking for. We're going to walk through our entire journey to financial independence starting all the way back in 2006.
And we aren't just going to give you the highlights. We're going to show you a year by year sidebar with our ages, our income, our 401k contributions, and our investment allocations as we go.
We want to show you that this wasn't a straight line. It involved career changes, moving across states, and growing our family from just the 2 of us to a family of 6.
Okay, first let's lay the foundation. So in 2006, I was 23 years old, which sounds amazing.
I'll go back to those times.
I was just starting off and I was making $42,000, but I was aggressive early. I maxed out my 401k with the maximum legal amount back then, which was $15,000 that year, and I put everything pretty much into basic mutual funds. I had like 10 or so that I could choose from, and I think I just picked the 5 that looked the best to me at age 23. So I also was checking back on like our budgets through the year, and I did not have a budget at this point. So I pretty much just lived on whatever was left after maxing out the 401k.
At that point, we hadn't met, but by 2007, that definitely changed.
Yes. So at that point, together, combining our income was $62,000. And that's the year that we met, like Amber said. And I was still maxing out my 401k at the time. And we added Amber as the second income stream. And we were just kind of testing the waters to see what was possible.
The income stream was small, though.
Yes.
Because I was a teacher at that point.
Teacher's salary income.
So a brand new teacher. So that combined income was you starting out as an account executive and then into your project management role, and then me as a teacher. So if that tells you anything. Definitely those early days were filled with all kinds of adventure. They were fun. We were young. We kind of just spent whatever we wanted to spend. We didn't have a care in the world at that point. But you were very versed on 401k contributions and very disciplined at that. And I definitely remember that throughout our entire life together. But really at that point when I first met you as a 23-year-old, that was something that you were really good at.
Huh. I don't know where I get that from. I'm glad I started young though at it. So, okay, then in 2008, fast forward to that, our combined income was $87,000. The 401k was still the priority, and we were still in that accumulation phase, just kind of building that amount up without a whole lot of direction other than that, except for save as much as possible. Okay, 2009 was a turning point for my investment strategy. I moved away from the general mutual funds and we started focusing on index funds for the first time. That was when that was first getting popular and I found out. So the allocation that we had was 50% in the S&P 500 and the rest was split between mid and small caps.
This was the height of the Great Recession, which was a scary time to be shifting strategies, but it set the stage for the growth we saw later.
You know what's crazy about that is I don't even think we realized. Like we didn't, I mean, we had maxed out the 401k, but still it just didn't seem like that much money. And so, like, I remember my parents were freaking out about the Great Recession, but for us, like, honestly, I don't even think I paid much attention to it. We just kind of had the money in there and we just did our thing. And
when you weren't really like tracking the stock market like you are today, like, that wasn't a thing for you. You kind of just used the 401k as a vehicle and you put it in there and it kind of did its own thing. And
that was a pretty good drop. So, I mean, that's interesting that I just kind of looked back at it and just saw the dip and saw it go back up and, you know, everything was fine, apparently. So then in 2010, I bought my first house on Lake Norman, and that was $375,000, which doesn't seem like much now. We actually just looked up that house and it's worth like $1.4 million.
Shocking.
Yeah. But back then it was $375,000, which
honestly was a lot for like your first home too. But you did buy it from your parents.
And income level that was pretty high.
Yeah, but you did have a thing like a kind of an agreement with your parents because it was your parents' house before when you guys moved down. So it was a little different than just buying
that's true. I mean, it was like a deal supposedly, but and I guess it really was a great deal considering how much it's worth today. But anyway, that's what, and I think that was before we were married. So I bought it just myself, and
Right.
Amber wasn't at that point. She wasn't
A
involved.
co-signer, no.
Yeah. So then at that point, also the combined income for us together actually broke six figures for the first time. We made 111,000 that year.
And that house, you guys have probably seen it in the previous videos, but it was beautiful. It had a lot of responsibility though for a 27-year-old and myself. It was our first real dip into real estate as an asset, and it showed us kind of like the value of that. And the hard work that comes along with it. It's not an easy road, and the pain that comes along with it, with the hot water heaters bursting.
Yep, that actually was a double wide mobile home, and then it had an addition built onto it. There was a garage that my dad and my brothers and sisters and stuff, we converted that into living space. We converted it into like 4 bedrooms, and it was just a garage. So it was definitely a unique property, but like Amber was saying, it required a lot of work. There were a lot of pipes that had broken and plumbing, and the floor. Yeah, it was like a 1987 or so at the time. And so I think it originally had the orange shag carpet. It had the paneling on the walls, and we pretty much gutted it over time, gutted it, and then converted it to what looked like just a normal house. People couldn't even tell if it was a mobile home or just a regular ranch style house.
Yeah, but it was our first true taste into home ownership.
Yeah.
2012 was a huge year for us. We actually got married at Magnolia Plantation in Charleston, and it's crazy because that place would eventually become our home.
So this was also the year that we created our first real budget. We used the Mint app, and this was Mint Financial. It's no longer available, but it's that's owned by Intuit, so they have like TurboTax and QuickBooks and all that. We now use Monarch, but we did start with Mint. So what we did was we took a look at the last 6 months of our spending at the time, and I think it was just something that I had heard of, and I was like, all right, let me kind of test those waters out. So we looked at the last 6 months of spending, and we just kind of exported those transactions in our credit card and our checking account into Excel, and I looked at those, and then I think I figured out how to integrate that with Mint Mobile, the app, and we were pretty shocked to see what we found. Amber and I had some pretty real conversations about that afterwards. But so our budget was $57,000 a year, and we were just like bleeding money in areas that we didn't realize.
Yeah, and it's crazy that it took us, from 2006 to 2012 to really come up with a budget.
I know. I feel like that's a huge opportunity for you guys watching, or people that are just starting off. Like, definitely start with a budget right off the bat, and don't just like spend on
right. So you know where things are going, and you know like if you need to stop the bleeding, you can stop the bleeding, and you know where to do it.
And even where it was. And I think Amber and I both in this particular example, like tell them about
so
I just think that this is a great example.
It's the famous Michael story, and I think we talked about this on a video a long time ago when we first started the channel. But that's where we found out that I was spending $1,000 a month somehow at Michael's, the craft store. I particularly like to do crafts. At that point, I was like, I think we were trying to decorate our house, and I was coming up with things to paint and different things to do, and even like decorations to use around the house. And it didn't really feel like that much at that point in time, because it was like $10 here, $20 there. It wasn't really like massive purchases.
They were like little transactions, and then they added up to $1,000 a month together. But individually, it wasn't like you could just, Amber would be like, yeah, I spent $300 on at Michael's today. It was little bits at a time.
I think that's where, even talking with people now, they're like, yeah, we have Amazon. Like, Amazon is our shopping category, and we buy Amazon, or we buy Target, or it's whatever it is. If it's subscriptions or anything, they're just kind of like hidden, and they're like small, minute purchases. And then you just think that like, oh, I'm just doing it here. But what you don't realize is over time, it's kind of like it compounds itself, like at the stock market.
Yeah. It was very revealing. Like, it's definitely something that everyone should do at some point in their life. I mean, I think you guys should do it consistently, but at least do it once, just to see where you're at and to see what you've spent. And I would say do it for the last 12 months, not just 6 months, because there's a lot of things that are annual, and you wouldn't quite catch that if you just did it 6 months. So needless to say, this really changed a lot of things in our plan, and it was a very eye-opening experience. we wanted to make sure that we were putting our money in the things that were important to us and not just in like frivolous things that we could do without. So we realized that if we could control those leakage areas like we talked about, we could accelerate our timeline, and that's really what we wanted to do. So by 2013, we cut that budget down to $49,000, and our income stayed steady. So we worked on that gap between those two numbers. In 2014, our mindset shifted from saving to being good stewards of what we had. We got a lot more involved in our church, and we wanted to be better stewards of what we had. We started doing a lot more community service and outreach and volunteering, and so that just felt like something that we really wanted to do. So we cut our budget even further from what we had before, now down to $36,000 a year, which seems incredible given, you know, the cost of living today, that we could live off of that much back then.
I know. And that's when we also moved from the Lake Norman house, where the mortgage was $2,000 a month, to a house not that far away with $1,000 mortgage. So we cut that in half. That was $1,000 difference that went straight into our goals at that point.
So we also took a mission trip that year, the first one we ever did, to Nicaragua, and we did that with a local nonprofit to the area that we were living in called Samaritan's Feet, and they also worked with a local missionary in Nicaragua through an organization called the Hope Project, and so that really helped us to see how people lived in that area, and it really changed our perspective of what really are needs versus wants, and it was just shocking for us to see how people in Nicaragua lived. I mean, they lived in like 6x6 shacks made out of plastic and jagged metal, and they had spiders all over the place and disgusting water and just really terrible living conditions. And it just honestly broke our heart. It's one thing to see that on a TV on like a commercial, or hear about it at church, or hear about it from people secondhand, but to see that with your own eyes and just to be able to be in the room and experience that, it's a whole different.
It changes your perspective on life and kind of what we have and what we can do without. We don't need seeing other people with way less than us. When we came back, we were on fire. We had like a whole list of things to do. We were just going to do this, and this. And that's when we decided also to partner with the Hope Project that we mentioned before, the host missionary in Nicaragua, to build a house for a family that we met there.
That was one of the coolest things that we've ever done. That was like
and awesome. Partnering with other people too. It wasn't just us. It was like reaching out to other people to get them involved, and not just it wasn't just our thing. It was a whole team of people.
Yeah, we had we raised money for that, and then we also did a match on our part. So we raised up to like
$2,500.
Yep, and then we matched $2,500 to get the house built, and that's definitely something that we want to continue to do. That's something we're going to look out for, is other organizations that might do similar things. We also started making extra monthly payments on our own mortgage so that we could pay that down and get rid of that debt as soon as possible. We realized that the daily grind, I think both of us, like Amber was in teaching, I was in sort of a corporate American job, and I think we just both got to the point where we started feeling like our jobs were a bit of a grind, and it just really wasn't something that we wanted to continue doing for the next 30 years. So that also motivated us to pay off our debt, get serious about this, start investing a little bit more seriously, and take things to the next level. In 2016, our budget was now at its lowest it's ever been, just $30,000, which seems amazing. I wish we could go back and have just continued that. But we were certainly lean and we were focused.
So this takes us through the first 10 years of our journey, from a $42,000 starting salary in 2006 to a lean, focused, and debt-free foundation in 2016.
It's wild looking back at that $30,000 budget era. If you're at the start of your own quest, here are 3 big takeaways from this first decade. Number 1, consistency trumps timing. We started maxing that 401k in 2006. We didn't wait for the perfect market. We just made the contribution a non-negotiable part of our lives. Number 2, the power of the pivot. Moving from general mutual funds to the S&P 500 and mid-cap index funds changed the trajectory of our growth. Don't be afraid to change your strategy as you learn. Number 3, audit your leakage. The Michael's Epiphany wasn't about the crafts. It was about realizing that small, invisible purchases can delay your freedom by years. So find your Michaels and plug the leak.
We reached 2016 with a clear why, thanks to our time in Nicaragua. We learned that stewardship isn't about hoarding money, it's about freeing up your time and resources for what actually matters.
But as many of you know, the journey was only getting started. In part 2, things get real. We go from 0 kids to 4, we navigate a global pandemic, and Jerad makes the leap into retirement twice.
We're going to show you how we handled a $300,000 housing profit, our transition into Lego investing, and the massive 7,000-mile cross-country road trip that proved our lifestyle was sustainable.
If you want to see how we went from a $1.2 million net worth to total financial independence while raising a family of 6, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications.
Part 2 is coming up next, where we open the books on 2017 through 2026. If you enjoyed the first half, give our video a like and let us know in the comments what year are you in your financial journey, what year are you on right now.
Your quest is just beginning. We'll see you in part 2. Bye.
Bye guys.